Aubrey Sitterson, who made some bizarre comments about 9/11. Some people did some things, but if you weren't there, you can't mourn the 3,000 slaughtered by Islamic fundamentalists. Odd take, Aubrey. Let's see how that plays out for you. He also did a bunch of G.I. Joe books where one of the, well, you know what? Let's take a look at it. Where one of the elite special forces soldiers is an obese woman with a giant beer belly. Though to be fair, I think one of the naval specialist guys also has a beer belly for some reason. Because when you think of elite special forces, you think of people who are grossly morbidly obese. That's because, you know, carrying heavy packs up hills at a jog is something that obese people are known to do. You know, to be fair, 130, 140 pound little blonde girls and redheaded girls also are not known to be elite special forces because they simply don't have enough muscles to carry heavy packs or to load 50 caliber machine guns. You know, a lot of times they show these women soldiers doing things. Well, the thing about soldiering is a lot of the artillery pieces are kind of heavy, and the even the boxes of ammo are somewhat heavy. They're geared towards your average soldier, but they're geared towards a soldier who's probably, I don't know, like at least 5'8" and 150 pounds and in pretty good shape. And you're including these women who are on average like 5'4" and 120 pounds. It just, things are slower if you have a woman loading an APC's main gun or something. That's why women are typically not elite special forces like this comic book's supposed to be about. And they're definitely not obese, because obese people can't run up hills. Obese people can't do a lot of things. Your special forces guy, I mean, very, very few people are this muscular, but this guy is more in line with a special forces soldier than the women would be. And you know, now that I take a look at this image, it's kind of weird. They make his height a little bit shorter than hers, because, you know, the average woman is probably 5'4", 5'5", I don't know, 5'6". It seems like women kind of group around 5'4", at least American women. There's a lot of women who are about 5'4". So you're saying that either they're over 6 feet or 6 feet, and this guy's their height or shorter? That's bizarre. It's okay to draw men taller. Men are taller. Men are taller and more muscular. Anyway, this kind of thing is just, God, it's just nonsense. No, nobody wants that. Oh, they also replaced the machine gunner's machine gun with a shotgun. And while a shotgun is great, it's not a belt-fed machine gun. And instead of fighting ISIS, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, or Boko Haram, they fight space aliens. Rock and roll shotgun specialist. If you want to read G.I. Joe, go back to the 80s and read the 80 comics from there. Some guy, hand-to-hand expert, because hand-to-hand combat is so useful among soldiers. No, they use rifles as their main tool. Maybe sniping rifles, maybe mortars, maybe grenade launchers, but hand-to-hand combat, no. If you're down to hand-to-hand combat, then you've made a mistake somewhere. Another thing they did is, for some reason, they're fighting space aliens, and to make things even weirder, they use laser guns instead of regular guns. Probably because regular guns have a habit of killing the enemy, where laser guns, they can set them to stun. It's really weird. It's really cheesy. In the 80s, these comics, cartoons, G.I. Joe and the Transformers. Well, I remember in G.I. Joe in the 80s, you can find them on YouTube, they started using lasers in the cartoons also, because basically you've got a cartoon for kids where these guys soldiers are running around killing people. So the only way to do it is to use kind of bloodless lasers and just put crosses over their eyes to avoid showing bodies being blown apart and horribly dismembered. But, I mean, once you do stuff like that, then you might as well not bother writing the cartoon or the comic book. It's just, as Nurkish would say, it's just stupid. Sorry, that was a bad impersonation. Then you find out that Aubrey Sitterson is a avowed socialist who hates America and loathes Americans. So naturally, he's the perfect choice to write G.I. Joe. Press S for sarcasm. Aubrey Sitterson is a very weird dude, and obviously the wrong choice to write G.I. Joe. But the reason he writes Joe is because of keynotes and infrastructure. It's a socialist's wet dream to be able to corrupt G.I. Joe, and corrupt it he did. Take a look at Scarlet's Strike Force. It's very, very silly. Nothing gets sillier than writing. I don't know if you saw that South Park episode where they fight crab people or something, and it's just the South Park joke is that it's the most ridiculous, asinine plot they can think of. What if crab people were actually behind Queer Eye for the Straight Guy or whatever? This looks remarkably like those crab people. But credit where credit is due. He did write Street Fighter versus G.I. Joe, and if I remember right, it was pretty good. We can take a look at that one too. They did 6 issues of this, and you think, well, how do you? Oh, it's a fighting series where they fight each other in elimination matches. You think, how do you make 6 issues about an elimination fight? But they do. It manages to be pretty interesting. There's some kind of backstory about the evil machinations between the good guys and the bad guys, or the bad guys and the worst guys. But it's interesting. He makes it interesting. It's this kind of thing he should stick with, the lesser political things. Anyway, Aubrey got fired for his disgusting comments about 9/11, but also probably because his stuff didn't sell that well. Though this should probably sell pretty well because it was pretty good. But his other stuff was just, the G.I. Joe stuff was just make you roll your eyes so hard. Then in a weird plot twist, Aubrey's boss tried to keep Aubrey on, so they both got fired. It's funny that Aubrey is so poisonous that he got his boss fired. I think his name was Chris Royale. If you take a look at IDW, they seem like a company that is, well, let's take a look. It seems like they're very, very top-heavy. Okay, what do we have? Ted Adams, CEO, Goldstein, President, Robbie Robbins, EVP, I don't know what that stands for, Senior Graphic Artist, anyway. Chris Real, he's a guy who got fired, and he might have been rehired. Chief Creative Officer, Editor-in-Chief, Ruzikia, Chief Financial Officer. Then there's the Vice President of Marketing, Vice President of Digital Services, Vice President of Licensing, Digital Subsidiary Rights, Vice President of New Product Development. That's way too many employees for a company that is not doing so well financially. And apparently they didn't need 2 of them because they fired Chris Real and Aubrey Sitterson. They might have hired him back, but I just don't care enough to investigate. Anyway, he has this pastel-colored horror called No One Left to Fight. It's kind of your typical cliche woke book. For some reason, the 3 people on the cover have pink, teal, and green hair. Though later on, the pink-haired guy's hair sort of darkens to red. The color sort of reminds me of a gay pride parade. It's stylized pastels, but the color artist went way, way overboard. It looks washed out. Why does he have a rainbow on his claw? And overexposed, even for a kid's book. I don't know if this is a kid's book. I'm assuming it should be, because it has things like these silly billy creatures, these little squid dogs. It introduces 2 characters who are twins. One is European with blue hair, and one is African-European mixed with green hair. But the mom is also African-European with green hair, who also wears knee pads and elbow pads for some reason. My question is, if the mom is mixed, why aren't the kids also mixed? Aubrey Sitterson may be woke, but he's no biologist. And all this stuff coming off the costumes, it's kind of, I guess it's kind of a steampunk-ish theme. It's just kind of oh so random, try hard, Just it's like in the Force Awakens when you see Rey come out of the desert and she's wearing wraps on her arms and stuff. Well, the reason people wear the reason the Saudis wear the dress they do, it's just it's a headpiece with a band and a long dress, is because it's simple, effective, and it works to keep them cool in the sun. It's just as effective as possible. And when the Force Awakens, when Rey was coming out with her arms in bandages, and the bandages were kind of a clothing because they just wanted to make it look different. It just looks kind of try hard. It looks silly. The reason people wear clothing in certain environments is for form follows function type of thing. Anyway, so I wonder why the two kids aren't either pure African or European or Asian. These two kids are twins. This is not how genealogy and biology works. Whatever. Let's not let logic get in the way of a woke narrative. What's the plot? I don't think there is one, other than two guys are bickering over an ex-girlfriend. The girl is supposed to be beautiful, but since we can't see her body, we really have no idea. Did I mention that everyone wears knee pads? Yeah, that's what I was going with the Star Wars Force Awakens. When they try too hard with these outfits and they just put like doodads and pouches and gadgets and just stuff that doesn't have a purpose, it looks silly. There must be one hell of an after-dinner gangbang scheduled. That was funnier when I wrote it and somehow less dirty. And the guy wears a necklace of anal beads, or at least that's what it looks like. I don't know what they're going for. The whole story is weird, but not good weird, just weird in the oh-so-random, I am wacky weird. The two characters fight in some sort of pseudo-macho display that men very rarely actually take part in. First issue is supposed to grab you by the balls and take you for a ride. It's absolutely critical to get you to buy the following issues. But here, the first issue sucks. Nobody's going to buy the second issue. They regret buying the first issue. Anyway, this sucks so bad, I almost feel bad for Aubrey Sitterson. I'm sure it's not the colorist's fault. He's just following orders. This is just nonsense. Headphones. This looks like the Go-Gurt 90s kid commercials where they have the headphones and the sunglasses and the earbuds. The only thing that kind of looked interesting was those looked like sunglasses, headphones combination, which seemed kind of cool. Probably not practical, but it seemed like that's what it was. And you're a smoking hot wife, except your breasts and your butt are totally covered. All we can see is that you have a skinny waist, which is great, but why not show the body? And they have salad. I guess it's some kind of future alternate dimension or something where they put salad in an oven. That's kind of weird. This color palette, I should say it looks like a gay pride parade threw up on a comic book. This gets old really, really quickly because it's very, very washed out and actually kind of hard to read. When you have, what this means is there's very little contrast between images. It makes it hard to pick up, for your eye to pick up the images. And then they get into this bizarro fight scene, which I'm not talking about the plot. I mean the color choice and the artistic direction is really, really weird. I guess you're going for the what's the Street Fighter kind of theme, but they're fighting, but we're not invested in the characters yet, and they can change, they can morph into, I guess, aliens. Yeah, we have no. I don't care who wins or loses. They both seem. There's nothing to grab onto with the characters. You haven't. It's like you're artificially creating. You're trying to artificially create an attachment to these characters, but you have to write a good story first and foremost, and you haven't done it with this. The comic you always wanted? No. Just writing words isn't magic. You can't magically make people want to buy your comic. This wasn't very good. I'm surprised it even got published. I would, if I was an editor, I'd take a look at this and say we need to rethink our approach, because this kind of thing isn't. You're just this kind of comic is just throwing stuff at a wall to see what sticks. Anyway, leave a like and a comment, subscribe if you're not already subscribed.